Hey up everybody, welcome back to the Audio Cycling YouTube channel. Today I am going to be doing a preview for the upcoming Canadian one-day races, the GP of Quebec and Montreal. I'll do Quebec first because that starts on Friday, and then Montreal will be on Sunday. Of course, the last time that these races happened was in 2019, which, if you think back to it, that was when Sagan was still at Bora, Matthews was at Sunweb, and Golden Greg was still a thing at CCC. Lots of things have changed since 2019, including the favourites of this race. It used to be those three, but now it is Wout van Aert, who is probably going to be the favourite for both of these races, given how they usually end up, which is usually a bunch sprint. However, it's more likely that it will be a bit of a large group going to the finish of a GP of Quebec if the previous results are anything to go by. You know, the likes of Matthews and Sagan have won this in the past, and usually that comes from a group of, 40, 50 riders or so, versus Montreal, where there's usually a bit more of a whittling down process because it has more elevation. Quebec is just over 200 kilometres and has just shy of 3,000 metres of elevation, versus Montreal, which is 220 kilometres and has 4,800 metres of elevation. So that explains why Montreal is usually a bit more reduced. In terms of the guys who are going to be doing really well in this race, of course, as I said, Wout van Aert, who has just come off a very successful Britannia Classic where he was launching attacks, closing down attacks, and then eventually ended up sprinting to the victory as well. He's clearly in outstanding form going towards the World Championships, of which a lot of these riders are hoping to build up towards and get some good form from these races. You've got guys like Michael Matthews, of course, he is at this race and he is still a favourite for this race. Of course, he didn't look too great at Britannia Classic or the Maryland Classic, which he's done recently, but considering that Bike Exchange have just lost Simon Yates in the Vuelta, it's going to be incredibly important for Michael Matthews to do well in this race when you consider that 500 UCI points are on the line for both victories if he was to manage to get it. So definitely Bike Exchange have a lot of pressure to do well in terms of UCI points, and there's other teams here who need to do the same, including EF. They'll likely come spearheaded through with Guerrero and Bettiol, both of whom have come off a very good Deutschland tour. There will also be Lotto Soudal, who will come here with the likes of Tim Vellens and some other riders like Monique, for example, who will try and limit their losses, I think, to the stronger teams. But there's also Alex Arambarou, who's coming here to try and help out Movistar in their relegation battle as well. So there's certainly plots within subplots here to go through. You've also got some very strong riders, including Binyam Girmay, who look very strong at the Britannia Classic. This race really suits him, and he will be definitely building up towards the World Championships, where he will be the out-and-out leader for Eritrea. And you've also got Jasper Stuyven, who did a pretty solid Denmark tour and should be the leader for Trek Segafredo. Of course, it's worth noting that alongside Wout van Aert, he'll also be supported by Christophe Laporte, who is going to be very strong over this kind of terrain as well. I'd say that he is more suited towards the GP of Quebec. I think that it might be a bit too hard for him in Montreal, but Jumbo-Visma do try and hand out kind of victories to their domestiques. You know, Laporte has been given victory in Paris-Nice, for example, and Laporte and Wout van Aert work really well together. It's very easy to look back at the Classics campaign which they went through together and see just how well they were doing together there. Tadej Pogacar also arrives in. It's surprising that I've got so far into this video without even mentioning his name yet, but he hasn't looked quite on fire at the moment. But of course, like I said, World Championships is only a few weeks away. He will be looking to really get some good results in here, but I think that he'll do better at Montreal just because it's a bit hillier. I mean, you've also got some other riders in there, including Greg van Avermaet, Peo Bilbao, Lorenzo Rota, all of whom have looked pretty good form recently, especially Bilbao, who I think finished second in GC at the Deutschland Tour and won the final stage. He's got a surprisingly fast finish, in my opinion. Geniet, Mohoric, Sagan, Jonas Zagir, Benoit Cosnefroy, Warren Barguil, Scaroni for Astana would probably be their best option, in my opinion. Nick Schultz could be a nice alternative for Bike Exchange. And then there's also Andrea Baggioli, who I know I've got this far through without even mentioning Quickstep, but they just haven't quite looked on fire recently. You know, I think Baggioli would provide the best option for them, but they don't have Alaphilippe. After all, he was at the Vuelta, and then he, of course, left that race. In terms of who I think is going to be on the podium in this race, I do think that Wout van Aert will win the GP of Quebec. I think that in second place it will be Alberto Bettiol. I think he's been climbing really well recently and is surprisingly fast in a sprint, especially one which is a slight drag uphill as it is in Quebec. And then in third place I'll go with Binyam Girmay. In terms of Montreal, just because it's a bit hillier, as you can see from like the map and the route, I think that today Pogacar will win the GP of Montreal with kind of like a solo attack. And then in second place, I think I'll go with Ruben Guerrero to win for a kind of kick behind, followed by, I'll go with Lorenzo Rota to finish in third place. So that is my preview of the GP of Quebec and Montreal. Let me know in the comments down below who you think is going to be doing well in this race. Is there anybody who I've missed? If you enjoyed previews as well, be sure to click the subscribe button down below, and also there'll be a Vela Games coming up for these races in a few days' time. And all that is left to say is keep safe up there, and I'll see you in the next video. Salut!